Hello, algebra students. Welcome back. I hope that you all had a great break. We're going to be starting a new chapter right away today after break, but it goes along with what we were doing before break. Before break, we were working on graphing lines, and now we're going to be taking either a graph or other information, and we're going to be writing equations of lines. So if you can remember, we talked about slope-intercept form. And slope-intercept form looks like this. Y equals mx plus b. Right? The b is where we begin. That's the y-intercept. And the m is how we move. That's the slope. That's if the line is going uphill or downhill, if it's really steep or fairly flat, that kind of thing. So if I give you information like this, if I tell you the slope and I tell you the y-intercept, I'm not asking you to graph these right now. I just want you to be able to write this equation. You're going to put those two numbers in the right place in this equation. So I would say y equals, instead of m, I'm going to use my slope number, which is -3. The x goes right after the slope, and then I'm going to add my y-intercept. Now, if we were graphing, starting at a y-intercept of 1/2 is not ideal. We like to have whole numbers for the y-intercept. Slope is okay to have a fraction, but if we're not graphing it, if we're just writing the equation, this is perfectly fine. For the second equation, I'm giving you a slope and I'm giving you a y-intercept. That slope of 0 kind of throws things off a little bit. I would have y equals 0x plus a -2. Now, here's the thing. 0 times x is just 0, and 0 plus -2 is just -2. This whole thing can boil down to just that. And if you remember, think about Mr. Slope Guy, a 0 slope is like Mr. Slope Guy's mouth, right? It's a horizontal line. This would be a horizontal line that crosses the y-axis at -2. If I give you a graph, again, we did a lot of graphing, but when we started our graphing unit, we had problems exactly like this. And I asked you to be able to take a graph and write the equation then already. So when I take a look at this kind of a problem in letter A, it does have a positive slope. It's going uphill, right? We have to be careful about finding places where it hits right on those grid marks. So I know it hits right there at 0, -3. I know it hits right there at 4, 3. It also happens to hit right there. So if I would count my slope, I'm going to move up 1, 2, 3, and over 2. See if it works again. Up 1, 2, 3, over 2. Yep, my slope is going to be 3 over 2. My y-intercept is where it crosses the y-axis, right there at -3. So my equation is just going to be y equals 3 over 2x minus 3. For letter B, this is a negative slope. Now it's going downhill. I will say that the most common mistakes that I see typically tend to be with forgetting signs. This is going downhill. Don't forget that this is negative. I know it's important to count the slope, but don't lose track of the fact that it's a negative slope. So I'm going to move from here down to this point. I'm going to go down 1, 2, 3, and over 1, 2, 3, 4. So my slope is going to be a -3/4. The y-intercept is right here at +2. So my equation is just going to be y equals -3/4. Don't forget your x plus 2. Now I said the most common mistake is forgetting the negative. I would say one of the most common mistakes after that is forgetting the x. People are so worried about getting the m and the b in there, they totally forget about the x. However, the x is really important because if you don't have an x, it ends up being a horizontal line. In all 6 of these problems, and I don't think that we probably need to do all 6 of them, I'm giving you the slope, I'm giving you the y-intercept. All you need to do is put them in the right place. And then if necessary, like in number 1 and 2, we might have to clean it up just a little bit. So for instance, in number 1, I would say y equals mx plus b, right? This is the m, this is the b. Now, this is the one where I said we might have to clean this up a little bit, right? Because 0 times x, that's just 0. And 0 plus 9 is just 9. There's my whole equation. For number 2, I'm going to have y equals, here's my m, here's my b. So mx plus b. This equation is just fine. However, I could maybe simplify this a little bit, right? I don't really need to have a negative 1x. I could just have a negative x. And I don't really need to add 0 at the end. Right there, I could leave that equation exactly the way it is. For number 3, we would have y equals 2x minus 3. Notice I just went to a minus instead of plus a negative. Either one is fine. I really don't think that we need to do all of these, like I said. Maybe number 6, just we are not afraid of fractions, especially for the slope. Y equals 1/3 x plus 2. Again, from graphs, we only need 2 things. We need the slope, we need the y-intercept. The slope we can count from a graph. The y-intercept, we can just look at where it crosses the y-axis. So for number 7, my slope is negative. I'm going to have to move down 1, 2, 3, 4, and over 1, which means that my slope is a negative 4 over 1, or just a negative 4. My y-intercept is negative 1. So my equation is going to be y equals negative 4x minus what? In number 8, we can certainly count from here up to here. There's also a point in the middle that we could use. So if we didn't see that point in the middle, if we went up 1, 2, 3, 4, and over 2, that's fine. And we would simplify that. 4 divided by 2 is 2. Or we could have said, oh, I'm going to move up 1, 2, and over 1. 2 over 1, also 2. And my y-intercept, this one happens to go right through the origin. So the y-intercept is 0. So y equals 2x. I'm not going to write a plus 0. You can, but you don't need it. Okay, let's take a look at, I don't know, how about number 11? This has a positive slope. Right there's a point, right there's a point, and there, and there. So this slope is a positive. It's going up 1 over 2. Up 1 over 2. Up 1 over 2. So my slope is 1/2. My y-intercept is negative 2. So the equation is going to be y equals 1/2 x. And then again, you can say plus a negative 2 or just minus 2. For number 12, negative slope, moving down 1, 2, 3 over 1, 2, 3, 4. So my slope is a negative 3/4. My y-intercept is at positive 3. So my equation would just be y equals negative 3/4 x plus 3. Now, if I give you 2 ordered pairs, we know how to find the slope. That's not hard. Finding the y-intercept might be a little tricky until you know that I'm giving you really nice points. Okay, so for instance, in number 15, the first point, 0, 2, if I would graph that. Now, I'm not encouraging you to graph all of these problems, but I want you to see that 0, 2 is right here. That y-intercept is at 2. If the x is 0, it tells you the y-intercept. The slope, and again, I don't want you to graph these and count it. I would rather that you actually use the slope formula. Remember how we did y sub 2 minus y sub 1 over x sub 2 minus x sub 1? I would have 3 minus 2 over 4 minus 0, which is going to be 1/4. So I have a slope of 1/4, and I have a y-intercept of 2. My equation is just going to be y equals 1/4 x plus 2. In number 17, both of these ordered pairs have zeros. But again, the y-intercept is when the x is 0. This ordered pair is the y-intercept. B is 8. My slope is when I go 8 minus 0 over 0 minus 8. I get 8 over negative 8, which is a negative 1 over 1, which is negative 1. So my equation is just going to be y equals negative 1x plus 8 Or, remember, you could drop the 1 out of there. You could just have negative x plus 8. All right, how about this one? Again, when the x is 0, this tells me my y-intercept. B is negative 1. My slope, let's go with negative 1 minus 5 over 0 minus negative 3. I'm going to do a cube change on both of them. Gives me negative 6 over positive 3, which is, if I just divide that, negative 2. So my equation is going to be y equals negative 2x minus 1. And for the last one, again, when the x is 0, this tells me my y-intercept. So the b is negative 5. My slope, I'm going to have negative 5 minus negative 5. Ooh, that's a little tricky. And 8 minus 0. So on the top, I get 0. On the bottom, I get 8. I kind of don't care about the bottom, though. If the top is 0, slope is just 0. Right? So my equation would be y equals 0x minus 5. And I'm hoping, again, that now that you've seen this a couple of times, you know that 0 times x is just 0. And 0 minus 5 is just negative 5. This is just y equals negative 5. Okay. Today's work is from your textbook. However, that page is going to be in Schoology. I forgot to put the other stuff on the slide, but you guys know the answer key is in Schoology. You'll be able to see it there. There'll be a formative in Schoology. This is a pretty easy assignment based on all the stuff that we did before break. So if you need any help with this, make sure that you let me know, and good luck.